The final series is something we're all incredibly proud of. It is atmospheric, thought-provoking and passionate, and that is all down to the amazing team who've made it. Will you join me in welcoming to the stage the stars of our show, the Essex Serpent?
And now is the time for us to come together. Don't be scared. It's when we're most lost that the source of light is closest.
It's based on a novel by Sarah Perry, which came out about 6 years ago. It's set in 1893 in London and Essex. There has been, and there really was, an earthquake which dislodged all sorts of fossils in the Essex landscape. Which has created a curiosity about archaeology. And we have to remember this is a time when Darwin has just published The Origin of the Species. So science and reason are starting to become a very progressive way of understanding the world. A teenage girl has gone missing. Something's bumping into the fishing boats. Has the Essex Serpent, the ancient winged dragon that lives beneath the Blackwater estuary, come back and been awakened by the earthquake? And this rumour starts to spread like wildfire around the community, into which our heroine, Cora Seaborne, played by Claire Danes, arrives because she's curious about the archaeology side of it, and she finds a very God-fearing and faithful community who find meaning in their faith, destabilized by their superstition. And there begins our story.
My thesis writing the novel was that the Victorians were a modern people. I didn't want to write a novel where women were shown to be fainting away in the corner, having just delivered their 9th child, not allowed to leave the house, or where politics didn't really exist and there was street urchins and pea supers. It was a modern age. There was anaesthesia, there was heart surgery, there was socialism, there was proto-feminism. Women were working in medicine, engineering, maths, the sciences. So I decided to show the Victorian age as a modern age and Victorian women as being modern women, which they were.
It's a love story of two worlds colliding in kind of the Dickensian time, and it's about community and love and friendship and trust and characters in that community.
I think it's kind of quietly radical, the novel, and hopefully our interpretation of it. It's kind of like it's sort of like a story of the exile of Eden, but without the sense of shame. And it's quite feminist for that reason. It talks about love and sex and death as all kind of one integrated experience. I just was really attracted to the themes of the story.
At the core of it, it's about love, sometimes in some cases unrequited love, or love in a hard time. I think people have felt that over the past few years, that love is sometimes hard to find. People feel like they have to live for themselves. But this is kind of like a radical love in the face of hardship. And it's also about friendship, actually, at the core of everything.
The Essex Serpent is a very contemporary story in the sense that it doesn't hold back in the way that a lot of period dramas do on the emotional sort of intimacy of the characters, and really has a very modern take, I think, in the way that we look at the women in particular in the series. There's nothing restrained about it. We really get to the kind of guts of what these people are about.
What I will say is that it's about a community down in Essex that gets a taste of London life, and it's about fear and hearsay and love and mystery, and a little bit of magic as well, let's say.
I find when I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to play a character that's based on a book, the novelists Sarah Perry, John le Carre in The Night Manager, for example, they give the actors so much interiority, because authors are always getting inside the hearts and minds of their characters. What they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's beneath the surface of what they're doing and saying. So reading the book was really helpful.
Fantastic team. We all happen to be female and share very similar values, and we tried our darndest to articulate them together creatively.
How flat it was and the way the light travelled was absolutely gorgeous. It would have been brilliant. It would have been a dream for the DOP and some of the shots they could do with that. Yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous, and it was great, you know, all the nature and the outdoors and shooting on location. It's always fab shooting on location, it's great.
I think the key theme is that of friendship and varieties of friendship and different kinds of love, and I know that readers of the novel are sometimes quite shocked by all the different types of intimacy and friendship that are displayed, and I really enjoy that, and I'm hoping that the audience will be kind of challenged and surprised by some of the relationships, and I really hope that it will help put an end to the idea that Victorian women never left the house, because that's a falsehood that has needed correcting for a really long time, and I'm only one of many writers who have tried to revert that impression, and I know this series will do that as well.
It was a beautiful story, really, really beautifully told, and it just speaks about all those little intricacies of relationships, interpersonal relationships that we all feel and is universally felt, but sometimes don't get to express. So it really spoke to that, and it's never left me. So I'm really excited to see it.
It's been a real pleasure working with Clio Barnard as sort of women behind the camera. I think we had a really special responsibility to kind of make sure that we made the female gaze at the heart of the show. And Clio was incredibly brave in the choices that she made and made it incredibly female-centric, which was really exciting to be part of.
My character is very fearful of everything and very God-fearing. So I suppose he's kind of like a kind of interfering local councillor who likes telling everybody what to do and scaring everybody with gossip and hearsay and fear.
I had never been to that part of Essex, and I found it incredibly evocative and inspiring. Because on the far east coast, the easternmost east coast of England, I think if you swam from the North Sea there, you'd get to Denmark, and it's very tidal and wet and windy and very atmospheric. It's where Turner used to go and paint, and he painted these extraordinary sunsets and extraordinary skies, and it's so much about the story, so much about that landscape and how treacherous it can be if you get caught by the tide. And the Blackwater estuary is quite serpentine. It's viewed from the air, it looks like a snake. And I was surprised by it. It's obviously a very ancient part of England.
There was a lot of mud involved filming down in Essex. Unfortunately for my character, I didn't get to shoot in any of the nice London studios, so we did it all down in Essex. But of course, it was great fun, and we were filming in lots of on the actual estuaries themselves. You know, in the mud, and the elements were around. It's a very windy and cold time of year, so it was quite exciting and challenging for the crew and everybody to shoot scenes. You know,
it was joy. It was actually like it was really uplifting. And just allows a type of freedom that you don't often get sometimes on sets, particularly in like a male-dominated space. Not to say that doesn't allow for it, but there was just something really refreshing about that. To be fair, in my current experience, it's kind of been the norm in filming. I've had the joy of really working with like an all-female crew and creative team, and so there's something really touching and beautiful about that, and so I was just really grateful to be in that space.
Audiences can expect a mystery at the heart of the show. The show opens with the idea that this serpent has come to haunt the people of a village in Essex. So it's very atmospheric. You're trying to work out, does this serpent exist or not? At the same time, there's an incredible love story running through it between the central characters, but also a story of friendship and a story of women finding their place in the world.
Crew, the production team, the cast, everyone, the companies who wanted to tell the story and make it work, to pool that all together, I think is brilliant.
I've admired Clio Barnard for a long time. We met about 10 years ago at the London Film Festival, we both remember that meeting actually, and it was really nice to work with her because I've always admired her from a distance. Her films, The Selfish Giant, Dark River, The Arbor. I thought Anna Symon's screenplays were incredibly deep. They seemed to have the texture of the novel, but they also had something very tangible and very raw. The landscape is very wild, and that mirrors something turbulent about the passions of the characters, which is quite unfettered and wild too. So I thought Anna really captured that. Sarah's novel, she's so generous and so open, and we had many conversations. I was trying to kind of just borrow as much of her own research as I could. Yeah, it was an amazing team, and Andrea Cornwell, our producer, amazing women leading our cast, Claire Danes, Clémence Poésy, Hayley Squires. It was a great team, and I enjoyed making it so much. It was really meaningful.
Clio is, you know, the captain of this ship that was just, she's just such a lovely person, and so thorough in the way that she works with her actors. You know, there was a little bit of rehearsal before we got on set, and everything would, it just felt like we were just having a really nice time down in Essex. And of course you could see that there was a real collaboration going on between all of the departments, and I think that was because of all of these brilliant ladies who were kind of collaborating with each other from the top, and it was obviously, you know, coming down into the different departments, and certainly on set we were all having such a lovely time.